Welcome to the Elephant TV. My name is Abdullahi, and my guest today is Nassir. Nassir is a lawyer very active within the human rights circle. Nassir, welcome to the Elephant TV.
I'm very honored to be your guest tonight. Thank you.
You're welcome. Nassir, let's start with, you actively campaign about human rights violations in northern Kenya. What motivated you to get into human rights activism?
I believe the area I come from, which is predominantly occupied by Muslim community, is an area that has been neglected by government or successive regimes in Kenya. So the area normally faces a lot of challenges in terms of security, and the security apparatus normally take advantage of the situation, and they normally do a lot of violations against human rights. So there are a lot of violations in terms of extrajudicial killing, police harassment, extortion, and all manner of illegalities that is are done by the agents, the security agents. So I have seen my community being harassed and their rights being violated by the Kenyan security agencies. So when I saw all these kind of aggressions against the community, I said, why not? You have the knowledge, you have the capability, you have the skills. Why don't you not use this knowledge you have learned to help your community? So what motivated most is the violations and the aggressions they were facing. So I said, I came up with an organization that basically talks about these violations and also advocate for the communities that are facing these grievous aggressions against the government.
I think over the last few years, you've narrowed down to enforce disappearances and extrajudicial executions. Can you give us some of the highlights and how you got into that?
Actually, the biggest problem that is facing the region in terms of violations of human rights is the enforced disappearance, extrajudicial killings. And if I give you an example of certain cases we have had a little bit of success, is that enforced disappearance normally is, we believe, is perpetuated by the security agencies, be it anti-terror police, be it the military. So these are the people who are the perpetrators of these vicious acts. In terms of enforced disappearance, there are a number of cases that were documented. There are others that were not documented. So it is one of the cases that happened is a very prominent professor who normally comments about issues about politics in Horn of Africa, called Professor Abdul Wahab. He was forcibly and viciously abducted on a daylight in the city, in the Nairobi city, and taken by people who are believed to be security agents. And after in their captivity for 11 days, they released him unharmed. So that is one of the cases that we really followed up, and actually we went to court. So before the court pronounced itself on the matter, our friend was released. So that is one of our high-profile cases in terms of enforced disappearances. There are other cases of enforced disappearance we have been doing some follow-up on, but unfortunately we couldn't succeed. But this one of Abdul Wahab was a very big success. Actually, we took different angles in terms of addressing it. One of the main angles, or in terms of how we addressed it is through campaigns on social media. We ran hashtags, we ran Facebook posts, we went to TV stations to undertake serious campaign in terms of having him released. And also, we also took the legal way in terms of going to court. So there are many. So one of the reasons, and actually one of the warnings they gave him before they released him, they told him that you must withdraw the case in court. Number two, you must not comment on the issues in Horn of Africa, and you should not also talk about this thing any further in terms of going to TV stations or newspaper. So it is one of the cases that really we really fought hard, and I'm glad he was released unharmed. That is one successful example of enforced disappearance cases.
Yeah, but you also had a case in court in Garissa. Do you want to speak about that as well, about against security officer?
Yes, that case wasn't enforced disappearance. That case is extrajudicial killing, and actually is one of the cases I'm proud of, because it is the first ever successful extrajudicial killings that happened in northern Kenya. Since independence, the military personnel in Kenya, the security personnel in Kenya have been killing people in northern Kenya, and none of them have been apprehended or brought to book. But this one, it is actually the first case where a police officer was charged, arrested, and actually it is the first ever case that two police officers were dismissed, arrested, charged, convicted, and now serving their terms at Community Maximum Prison. So this case happened in 10th of November 2018, where an innocent mother who does business of selling milk in a place called Ramo, Mandera County of northern Kenya, it was reported or alleged that her son does business of selling bang. So the police officers normally come to their house every other day and harass this mother. So these officers came in the evening. They tried to inquire the whereabouts of Mohammed, which is the son of the mother. She said, "Why are you coming to harass me every other day? Mohammed is with his kids in the house." So there was a little bit of confrontation. So the two police officers, one of them withdrew a gun and shot her on the chest 3 times. So her body was taken immediately, and upon reaching the hospital, she was pronounced dead. So I was in Nairobi. I was called and informed about the sad situation. In the morning, the first thing I did was I wrote to Independent Policing Oversight Authority asking for their expeditious investigation into the dreadful killing of the mother. So after 2 months, after a week, they dispatched a team to Ramo, Mandera, and the team commenced the investigation. So by January, the investigation was over, and they forwarded the file to Director of Public Prosecution. And to cut the story short, the officers were interdicted, arrested, and charged at Garissa High Court. The court found that they had a case to answer. So in November this year, in November last year, they were convicted of manslaughter, and they were jailed 10 years each, and now they're serving their sentence at Community Maximum Prison. And actually, this is it's the first ever case that saw police officers interdicted, arrested, charged, and convicted of extrajudicial killing in the entire of northern Kenya.
And, you know, these are not easy cases to deal with. What are some of the challenges and problems that you face as a human rights activist in northern Kenya?
The challenges are immense. You know, our communities from northern Kenya, for the 5 counties of northern Kenya, are normally communities that are used to violations by the successive regimes. So they normally fear the government. They normally fear the police. So one of the big challenges is to get the witnesses to testify in court. That's one. Number 2, the area being far and wide, it was difficult for us to mobilize resource in transportation of witnesses, because I know independent policing oversight authority played a very significant role in terms of helping us in transporting and also giving accommodation to witnesses. So we had over 10 witnesses. So it was hard to be bringing witnesses and also giving them accommodation, although IPOA played significant role in terms of catering for their accommodation, food, and transportation. So the main challenges in terms of us trying to continue to fight or continue to prosecute this case was that the issue of resource was a bit challenging, because the area is vast. Traveling from Mandera to Garissa is a bit very long. So it is something that needs to be addressed in terms of helping human rights defenders or human rights activists to carry out their activities in terms of doing their work. So that is 2. 3, we also had like in terms of reaching out to other stakeholders, like the human rights organizations, was also hard, because whenever we reach out to them, nobody was willing to help you in terms of giving resources, giving support. It was very difficult. So in short, I can say that part of the world is an isolated place. These big organizations, these big international human rights organizations don't have presence. They're not supporting local organizations, and they are not also in touch with the local communities that need their issues to be addressed.
Thank you. I mean, I want us to end on a hopeful note. What gives you hope? What makes you wake up every day and say, yeah, there are all these challenges, but there are all these challenges, there are all these problems in trying to address these challenges. What gives you hope? What motivates you? What gets you going?
That's a very good question. What most motivates me most is that passion. I have passion for this work. I have started this work now. I think this is my 7th year in terms of actively involved in human rights issues, starting from the illegal operation in Isli, regarding the Usalama Watch, when the Kenyan government decided to bring the community, the Somali community, and took them to the stadium. You know, that is when I started the work. So every other morning when I wake up, despite the huge and massive challenges, what motivates me most is the passion. Knowing that I am the only human rights lawyer who is actively involved in these issues, the only active human rights activist from the region. What motivates me is the passion I have for this work and giving back to my community. That's one. Number 2, what motivates me most is that I am seeing, at least in many years, the region has seen violations, the Wagala massacre, the Malkamari massacre, the Garissa Gubai massacre, and we have seen government doing nothing about it. But the small effort I have put in one single case has yielded some result that has never been seen, like the case of Mama Abdia. That is what drives me most, because I tell myself every other morning, you have at least made those 2 officers who killed the innocent mother to be apprehended and convicted of their heinous act of aggression. Don't give up, keep pushing. At the end of the day, I don't need anybody to wake up from his sleep and say, oh, we need to celebrate this guy now. And I'm not going for any political seat. So this is a passion I have, and it is something that I'm looking forward to push. And I welcome any other partner who is willing to support us in terms of any other assistance that he or she can give us.
Thank you so much, Nassir. I'm sure we'll come back to you at some point.
Thank you.